Welcome back to another episode of Another Pokémon Podcast. My name is Galutrad.
And I'm Becs.
And today we are coming at you with the last episode of 2024.
The last episode.
Yes.
Of 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went back in time a second ago. That was wild. My brain just told me, like, it's 2023. This is exciting.
Yes.
We hinted at this last episode. It's the legendary mythical episode. We are going to be talking about the legendary and mythical Pokemon from the first generation, which is, of course,
The Burbs.
the Burbs
The three
and
legendary Burbs.
the Mew duo, as they're referred to by fans. But before we get into that, Bex, how are you?
I am great. We just celebrated the holidays with my mom's side of the family and been playing Infinity Nikki
You have been playing
to death.
a lot of Infinity Nikki.
Still trying to finish that book challenge, and I have one and a half more books.
1.5 more books.
Yeah.
Because you're listening to one of them. You're
No,
reading.
I'm not listening to anything right
Oh,
now.
you finished it?
I'm listening to a book, but it's nothing to do with my challenge.
So you just have the one you're reading and the manga?
I have one more to read after this, and then the manga.
Okay.
Yeah, 1.5 after I get done.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I at some point split my heel open.
Oh yeah.
So that's causing me a lot of pain. But we did just get a new couch delivered today, which is really awesome. It's great.
It is nice. We're gonna figure out how to hang the microphones from the ceiling in our living room and lay out flat vertically on the couch to record.
That would be kind of awesome.
It would be
actually.
really awesome.
Yeah.
No, probably not gonna do that.
And then I tried streaming Pokemon Sun. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties with our internet right now when I'm streaming, where the stream just kind of lags a little bit. So we have to call and get it moved over to be hardwired in to the modem within our office. And that way I can be on an Ethernet cable without running a ridiculously long Ethernet cable throughout the house on the floors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've also been playing a little bit of Ultra Moon.
Yes.
So that we can hopefully do an episode for after you get done streaming it, and I play through Ultra Moon, which I'm excited because that is a game that neither of us have beaten.
No, yeah.
Before.
Yeah.
We've played it. Mm-hmm. We just haven't gotten through the whole thing because it's I think, as I'm playing through it, there's a lot of talking. And I just want to play Pokemon.
Especially if you're like me and you have an urge to talk to every single NPC.
Which I do that too, but not by choice. There's a lot of talking. There's a lot of talking at you.
Yes, there is. This is definitely the most hand-holdy that the series has ever been.
Yeah, but still exciting. I know the story is great, and I am excited to go venture through Alola. And get some. We have both started with the same starter. We both have Rowlet.
Yep. Chat picked for me, and they picked Rowlet.
Mm-hmm. And I picked it because it's the best choice.
Yep. My Rowlet is named Dennis because Chat wanted to name Rowlet Menace. And so we called him Dennis the Menace. But his name is Dennis.
Mine is named Link.
Yeah. You're going with a...
I'm doing the Zelda thing again. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or Infinity Nikki.
Or Infinity Nikki.
I might do Infinity Nikki.
Which is insane.
But yeah, having a good time doing that. Ready for the rest of the holiday season at this point. We're ready
I think we're pretty much. I'm waiting on one more thing to get delivered for other people, but pretty much all set to go for holiday season. So that's awesome. Yeah, and excited to have some time off work and enjoy the holidays. Yep. What is more exciting, however,
than the holidays
is what they represent, which is getting together and how the listeners got together with us to leave us listener feedback.
That was a big stretch.
That was a good stretch.
A decent amount of stretching was just done to make that work. No, but it is exciting. I will agree that it is exciting that we have listener feedback, as always. So just kicking that off, over on Instagram, we got a comment from Hollis Sutter Taylor that says, this is on our Pokemon swag episode, and she said, very cool podcast.
Indeed.
With not one, not two, but 3 exclamation points.
Yeah.
It's triple cool.
We appreciate your comments that you leave us over on Instagram, Hollis Sutter Taylor. And we are glad that you find the episode cool.
Yeah. Was that a post, like a repost like a hey, don't forget to check out this episode post?
It might have been.
Okay.
We should probably keep track of that.
Yeah.
That would be kind of interesting to know.
Curious.
Yeah. What else we got?
Over on X, Shauna Jessica, our friend Shauna Jessica, commented on the I Am Blaze a Knuff episode, which is my favorite title I've ever come up with, other than You Better Bayleaf It. I think those two. But Shauna Jessica said, my fave hands down is Houndoom. It's such a beautiful dog. Oh, and the Blaze a Knuff episode was the top fire Pokemon episode.
Yes, yeah. Our fire Pokemon pun was top favorite fire Pokemon.
So Shauna Jessica said her favorite is Houndoom. She said it's such a beautiful dog, a battle beast, and the typing is great. Fire Dark. I loved both your lists. Surprised to see no one picked Growlithe for the series. Volcarona was a great pick. Cool in Snap. P.S. I cried hearing the shout out at Rebelity. Don't cry. I can't talk though. I too have cried when hearing my feedback on other podcasts. So yeah. I totally get it. But obviously glad those are happy tears, or hoping they're happy tears.
I think so.
Not, they read my feedback.
Yeah, I think so. It's much appreciated. Rebelity definitely. It's either some form of crying or like rapidly tapping me on the shoulder to be like excited and get my attention to be like, my name was just read.
My name.
Yeah.
No, we love it. And it is kind of funny that we didn't pick Growlithe too, because I don't know if we've shared this before on the
We've
podcast.
Talked about it, our dogs. Yeah.
But we often say that my dog, who is a gray and black blue heeler lab mix, is my Mytiana, and Galutrad's dog, Ganon, is a Growlithe because he's a little kind of reddish brown.
Yeah,
dog.
He's very smaller. Like fire reddish brown.
And yeah, so it's kind of funny that we didn't pick Growlithe because we have a Growlithe in our house at all times. It's a solid Pokemon, but it cannot beat the Firefoxes. That's for sure.
No.
And then over on Spotify, another Hylian Poke Nerd said on our Poke Swag episode, so same one that Hollis Sutter Taylor commented on, said, yes, more real things. Love the swag. So many cool plushies. And then just a bunch of red and white hearts after that to emphasize the power of Another Pokemon Podcast.
That's
red
right.
and white heart emojis.
That's right. I have fully taken to, and I know you have as well.
Yeah.
Anytime we respond on any of the Another Pokemon Podcast socials anywhere, we almost always leave in the message with a red heart and
a red or white heart.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
so
very,
much
very
fun.
cool. Yep.
Representing the Pokeball.
Represent.
Okay, well, I'll take the last two
go
here.
ahead. Yeah.
So over on X, we received a comment from Still Sane Shane, and this isn't really listener feedback, but we did share our Pokemon TCG Pocket handles on our socials. If any of you are playing Pokemon TCG Pocket and want to add us as friends, they are shared on our socials. And Still Sane Shane shared his best pools, which I believe consisted of an Alakazam full art, which is really cool.
Yeah,
and he said, thank you, trying to be the very best, you know?
Love that.
Yeah.
So now that we've played a little bit more, what is your favorite full art card so far?
Well, I think I'd have to say it's the Mew card.
The Mew one?
Yeah,
okay.
Which is, I actually just got it recently. You get Mew if you get a version of any type of all other 150 original Pokemon. Because there's a couple, later generations in the game already. But if you can collect some version of all 150, you'll get a full art Mew card. That's also like one of those deep dive cards. And Mew is my favorite.
It's really cute too. You showed it to me when you got it.
He's like really flying around. He's super cute. Yeah. So I think that one, if not that one, the Diglett one is really funny because it's like you can see, it's almost like Diglett as an anthill. It's almost like they take a section of the world as an anthill and you can see Digletts doing stuff underground.
I like that one too. That's really cute. My favorite probably so far is the Gloom full art.
Where I think it's sitting on a stump. Yeah.
It's just really pretty. It's like he's sitting in I imagine him sitting in like the Viridian Forest.
Yeah.
Just hanging out. He's cute.
Yeah. So thank you, Shane, for sharing your best pools and showing love over on our social on X. And then finally on Apple Podcast, we got a 5-star review.
Yay!
This one is from a user named Agatha Forever. And they say, and this is kind of just a general review on the podcast. I'm not 100% sure what episode specifically this was left after, but Agatha says, "Hello, Becs and Galutrad. I have just started your podcast and am enjoying it immensely already. I have listened to other podcasts and I have seen many different types of chemistry between hosts, but I see that you two complement each other very well. I wanted to say good job, and I dearly hope your podcast lasts many seasons. Also, is there a way I can support you? All right, then. Goodbye. Are you guys going to use the red heart, white heart emojis? Merry Christmas." So, yes, obviously, we are going to use the red heart, white heart emojis.
Yep, we are. We support that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your 5-star review. We don't have anything to announce right now as far as supporting us, I assume financially goes. You can support us for free at any time by doing exactly what you did, by interacting on leaving us Apple Podcast 5-star reviews, leaving us Spotify reviews, interacting on any of our social platforms.
And just listening to us, downloading our episodes. Any engagement is helpful. And so we appreciate that. More to come in the future, I'm sure, for different things, but nothing right now other than your love and support. I did notice you forgot to read that Bex is the best part of the podcast when you were reading that.
That wasn't in there. No, don't put words in Agatha Forever's mouth. But yeah, that's our listener feedback for this episode. So thank you so much. Yes. We truly, and we cannot say it enough, we truly deeply mean it when we say that we love all the feedback and interaction that we get. It means the world to us, and it's just so awesome to build that connection with y'all. There are definitely names that we recognize and feel like we're friends with y'all, and we hope y'all feel the same way. So thank you so much. And if you want to reach out to us on socials, you can reach out to us on pretty much all of the social networks available at Another PKMN Pod.
Yeah, and we look out for that regularly, and we love reading. We love reading it on the show. We love reading it and giggling to ourselves when we get it, because it just brings us, truly, like, we can't make this up. It brings us a lot of joy to read those.
Yeah, I just realized, and I wonder if there are other eagle-eared listeners that have realized this much sooner than us. We gave up real quick on trying to name a Pokemon to spell out PKMN every single time. I think you did it for the first. I think you did it for episode 0 and 1.
P as in Pelipper. K as in
Kangaskhan.
It's always Kangaskhan, though.
Yeah,
it's an easy one. Is Corviknight a K?
No, it's a C.
All right, goodbye. I can't spell. This is why we're not doing this.
Yeah. You know what isn't a K, though? That was a terrible transition.
Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres.
Yeah.
None of those start with a K?
No, none of those start with a K.
You know what letter comes after K? L. And L stands for legendary birds.
Wow. That was really good. So yeah, this is a legendary episode, the first of many legendary episodes. We hope to eventually do one for each generation. But we're going to be just kind of deep diving into just different things. There's a lot of information on the legendary and mythical Pokemon. And so we kind of split the work up and grabbed information that we found interesting and that we wanted to share. But obviously there's a whole lot. So we'd love to hear, if we miss anything, what y'all know about these legendary Pokemon. But Bex is going to go first with the legendary birds.
The burbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast knows, the legendary bird Pokemon from Gen 1 are Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, which is number 144, 145, and 146 on the Pokedex. They made their debut in the first generation of the Pokemon games and the red and blue versions on the Game Boy, which makes them the first legendary trio of the Pokemon franchise. And let me tell you, spoiler alert, they did set a precedent for future trios, wink, wink, that we'll talk about on later episodes. But just as their nicknames suggest, these are all legendary elemental bird Pokemon. So Articuno is the ice flying representation of the group. It has an icy blue plumage and an almost like an icicle like crown. It's like 3 little spikes, if you will, crown on its head, and a beautiful, like long, elegant tail feather. Zapdos is the electric flying type, and it is yellow with black and like dark blue and gray accents, kind of. It's mostly yellow, but it's got like hints of black and dark blue and gray in there to kind of highlight like the angularness of it, because of course it's the electric Pokemon of the trio, so it looks like a lightning bolt.
Yes.
It's very resemblant of the angles and like the zappiness of it. Those sharp edges kind of help with that. And then, of course, lastly but not least, is Moltres, who is the fire flying type of the group. Moltres quite literally embodies flames because it's got an orange, like kind of elegant body, but it's just got actual fire like streaming off of its wings. Its tail feather, I'm pretty sure, is made of fire, or at least is covered in fire. And then it's got like some fire, kind of like a crown almost coming from its head.
Have you seen Moltres without fire?
No, that sounds really stupid.
It looks like a rubber chicken.
I'm sure. Yeah. No, I could picture that as soon as you said it. I'm like, ew, I don't like that. Probably how silly Rapidash looks like in that one cut scene from
where it's just a horse.
The movie. Yeah. A unicorn, if you will.
Unicorn, yes. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Like other legendary trios, each one of these legendary birds is considered an equal to the others in the group. So there's not, we're going to talk a little bit about some other instances where they appear in other media, but there's no, between the 3 birds, there's no leader of the birds. They just are all equals, and they share similar attributes. That specific piece is something that also will carry forward to future legendary trios, but like these were the first ones to do it. They were the ones to set that precedent.
That there's no leader?
That there's no leader. There's no leader among the trios.
The trio.
Yeah. Or the duos. Sometimes there's duo. Yeah. So in addition to setting that precedent, the legendary birds also gained some new forms in Generation 8 in the Galar region, which they also received a new nickname. I don't know if you know this, but they're called the legendary wings.
I did not know that.
Okay.
Interesting.
I don't know why that is. I do have a really dumb fact to share with you later that I hated. I growled at it when I read it last night. The only one that is truly like incredibly different looking to me is Zapdos. So like, I'll explain. So Galarian Articuno is like, it's more intimidating looking. Like it's more like angry. It's got kind of glowing eyes going for it. It looks kind of scary. It's now a psychic flying type Pokemon, and it's got like a purple tone to it instead of the blue. Yeah. And I literally said it looks like the Darkwing Duck version of Articuno. Just because it's like more black and purple and kind of spooky looking. He kind of stands up, which kind of reminds me of Darkwing Duck, like holding his little cloak.
He crosses his arm, his wings.
Shout out to any 90s kids who know what Darkwing Duck is.
Ayo.
And then Galarian Moltres, also kind of the same vibe, right? It's like very similar, but it's more spooky. It's black and it's got like bright red, deep red flames. Yeah. Instead of the more traditional looking flames. They did my boy Zapdos dirty. They really did. Yeah. So Moltres, Articuno, Psychic and Dark Pokemon now. Zapdos, they turned into a fighting flying type, which is cool. However, they made it look like an ostrich.
They did, very much did.
Yeah.
And it
a fluffy ostrich.
Yep.
He looks awful. So he does not look intimidating, unlike the others. He's just an ostrich. He's got a dark orange with a black plumage now, and they gave him an elongated neck.
Yeah. He's fast, though.
Is he fast?
He's fast.
Yeah. Well, he's a fighting type, so that makes sense. Yeah. This is a little fun fact for you that I thought was really cute. All of the shiny versions of the Galarian forms look like the original color palettes, which I thought was really cute.
I missed the event that they were available in, and I am so upset about that.
Oh, I'm sure. Because I don't know if you know this too, but the shinies for the originals they're barely noticeably different, which is pretty common for early gen.
I think Moltres has the most, because doesn't shiny Moltres get like a pinkish body? It looks like a burnt chicken rather than just a chicken. But it is the most,
it's
fairly
the most
certain
different.
It's the most
Yeah,
different.
yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So that's a little bit on just like the different forms and what they look like. So diving into kind of where I was going to talk about all of the appearances that they've made, but they actually are in a lot of games and a lot of movies and a lot of the show. So what I did instead was I just picked a couple of my favorite appearances, one of which I didn't know about until I researched this, but two I remember them being in. The first one that I thought was really cool is in the original Nintendo 64 Pokemon Snap game.
Yeah.
You have to work for it. You have to interact with the environment and really work for your picture. But you can get pictures of all 3 legendary birds in 3 different levels. Articuno's in the cave level, Moltres, of course, in the volcano level, and Zapdos is in the tunnel level. And what I think is also kind of interesting is these birds are not supposed to hatch from any eggs. Like, that's not supposed to be possible to breed them. But in this game, like for the gameplay, they do.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, is like if you take a picture of the egg, which you can do easily, it like question mark, like it knows it's something, but it doesn't know what it is. But if you do different things, which we'll talk probably when we talk that game about the game, when you do certain things, you can get the eggs to hatch, and then you've got these really cool photo ops for all 3 of the legendary birds.
The one that I remember the most vividly is Articuno, and how it just kind of, it basically flies through the cavern with you after you hatch it until the end of the level.
Yeah.
So you have several different opportunities to get a picture of it.
I remember I'm pretty sure I had the hardest time getting, I think, Zapdos.
I did too.
I'm pretty sure I remember that being the hardest one.
Yeah. I know, I can kind of think about like where it was in the game.
I think Electabuzz has something to, like, I think he's his electrifying Thunderbolt or something. Yeah,
I think he gets annoyed with something and then zaps, and that gives enough electricity to Zapdos's egg to have it hatch.
Yeah.
But I remember it being really cool that they hatched.
I got excited. There's a couple like really cool hidden gem type photos you can get that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
The second one that I called out is Pokemon the Movie 2000.
The best Pokemon movie.
Where the legendary birds, they play an integral part of the story in the second movie. I'm not going to go into that too much because we'll talk about that movie.
When we talk about the movie.
When we review the movie. All 3 of the birds live on the Orange Islands in that movie, and they work together to kind of balance nature out. And what I was talking about earlier, where there's no leader amongst them, Lugia kind of acts as a leader for them in the same way that Ho-Oh acts as a leader for the legendary beasts from the Johto region, which is Suicune, Raikou, and Entei.
Yes.
A little different, and we'll talk about that a little later too, but it's very much like there's like a clear hierarchy there.
Yes. Yeah.
And then this is so weird, and we talked about yesterday how excited we are to read these.
Oh, yes.
But in the Pokemon manga, in the red, green, and blue arc, apparently the birds are coveted by Team Rocket. Like they failed to capture Mewtwo, and they're like, we need a plan B. And plan B is catch the birds. So they caught the birds, and they gave the birds to 3 of their commanders to use against red, blue, and green at Silphco.
Okay.
What I found interesting and questionable was the commanders that it said they gave them to were Sabrina, Koga, and Lieutenant Surge. And Team Rocket.
I guess, okay, Sabrina I kind of get.
What?
Because at least in the games and in the show, honestly, because that episode with Sabrina is like, she is straight up evil in that episode. But Lieutenant Surge, I feel like would not
It's so weird.
That's incredibly weird.
I have to know.
Koga, I guess I also could maybe
He's like a
see.
ninja. He's kind of, shady character.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than like the
That's
kind
wild.
of army or military hierarchy in Rocket, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to find out.
We will.
Eventually.
We need to read those books.
But of course, too, just like I was telling you about the boat in the last episode, the manga art for the birds looks really cool. They look very intimidating. So kind of diving into each bird a little bit. So Articuno, aka the best one in my opinion. I was obsessed with Articuno. A couple Pokedex entries that I pulled, my favorite ones were from Stadium 2, actually, which is so random, but anyway. It says one of the legendary bird Pokemon. It chills moisture in the atmosphere to create snow while flying. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool. And then the OG Pokedex entry, a legendary bird Pokemon that is said to appear to doomed people who are lost in the icy mountains.
Oh. Mm-hmm. I wonder if it saves them? Or
that was my impression, but I mean, sometimes legends be dark, and so it could be just
great! I've seen an Articuno, so now I know I'm going to pass.
No, not that. No, like a comfort. Like I'm gonna pass, but an Articuno, how pretty, and then I don't know. But anyway, I'm trying not to go down that path because it's pretty sad. So in the original games, Articuno can be found in the Seafoam Islands.
Yep.
Which I don't know where else it could have been.
Yeah.
But come on. You put an ice bird on a tropical island?
Yeah.
Anyways. So it's on the Seafoam Islands, which are directly east of Cinnabar. What is cool to note is that Articuno, out of the three birds, Articuno has the most HP and the highest defense stats.
Interesting.
Of the birds.
I would not have guessed that. Ice is not a defensively bulky type.
No,
so
but its
that's
stats
interesting.
are good for some reason. And then, multiple Pokedex entries suggest, it's most commonly found on icy mountains, in general. Mm-hmm. So I said it's the Queen Elsa of the Pokemon world.
It is. It's out there letting it snow.
It can control ice in any form, which is cool. It's said to appear to lost people at risk of freezing in order to save them from a chilly fate, because that was my interpretation of it.
I like that interpretation.
It's a lot better than the other one. Mm-hmm. The name Articuno and the name of all of the birds is, half of it is elemental based.
Yep.
And the other half is a Spanish number. So Articuno is Arctic and Uno.
I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the podcast before. I'm pretty sure I've talked about it with you. Mm-hmm. I did not realize that until I'm terrible with time, but I had to have been probably in my mid-20s.
I'm pretty sure that you might have taught that to me on this podcast.
Oh, really?
I have learned that recently, so don't feel bad.
Okay.
I never, it's just Articuno. It's one word. There's no hidden meaning.
Maybe I have talked about it on the podcast then, because I very clearly remember I was driving my friend Foster to college, to his classic college that day, and we were playing Pokemon X and Y at the time, and I would just have this moment of revelation, and I go, oh, it's Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. It's 1, 2, 3.
I really didn't know either. I mean, it makes sense, but I think, to be honest with you, I think I was focused more on the first part of the name. So and Zapdos is the only one that really stood out to me. I'd be like, oh yeah, Zap, we get it, electric, boom, lightning. But yeah, so Articuno is Arctic Uno, and then I made a couple notes on what I don't know if Pokemon Company has come out and said this is true, but it's what is assumed, that these birds are all inspired by, kind of like what we did with Ninetales and Vulpix.
Yeah.
It's assumed that Articuno is inspired by two different legendary birds. The first bird is Rock, which is a Middle Eastern legendary bird that's said to be large and strong enough to lift and carry off huge prey. And then, I'm going to butcher this, but the Simurgh, which is a Persian mythological bird that symbolizes wisdom and protection. And it's said to have the body of a peacock and long lion-like talons. I could see that because peacocks have I know they have more of a full feather, but when it's not fanned out, it's more of just a longer tail feather. It's blue. It's very pretty. And then I think that kind of goes along with like my interpretation of it's saving people when it finds them on the mountain, because it's a symbol of like protection.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
It's so interesting too, because I mean, I completely buy those, even without knowing that Articuno was always like the wise one, the smart one, I guess you would say.
So jumping over to Zapdos, which is your favorite, the Cantonian version for both of us, your favorite bird. The entries I pulled for Zapdos were Silver and Fire Red. So Silver, it says, this legendary bird Pokemon is said to appear only when a thundercloud parts into two halves, which is kind of cool.
Oh, interesting.
I could just like see this like majestic parting of clouds, and then
It's
Zapdos
almost-
just appears.
It's almost like the thundercloud is the egg.
Yeah.
And it
kind
hatches
of. Yeah.
Zapdos. That is really cool.
Very cool. Very, very Greek mythology of them. And then Fire Red had one of the legendary bird Pokemon. While it is flying, it makes crackling and snapping sounds.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. Like, I just picturing it like making almost static electricity noises while it flies, kind of thing. You can find him at the abandoned power plant, which is located south of Route 10. You have to surf the river to be able to reach it. And it puts up quite a fight as well. It only has 2 super effective weaknesses.
Yes.
Because of its cool dual typing of flying and electric, it kind of balances it out. So it's only super effectively weak against rock and ice.
Which are also, especially in Kanto, fairly uncommon.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I said, if I made a note that if Articuno is Pokemon's Elsa, then Zapdos is Pokemon's Thor. Because many Cantonians worship Zapdos as a god of thunder due to its instant control of storms and lightning.
So he's going to take out Thanos. Got it.
Yeah, totally.
I love that.
As far as like where it's possible that Zapdos got its inspiration from, which as soon as I read this, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's the Thunderbird in many Native American legends, especially in the Algonquin and the Iroquois tribes. It can wield lightning and thunder. This is talking about the Thunderbird.
Oh, okay.
It can wield lightning and thunder with its wings.
Oh.
And is also seen as a symbol of strength and power. So it's pretty, I think that and the Moltres ones are very much like, they make a ton of sense. Yeah. I think Articuno is truly inspired by rock, and the Simurg, or whatever, however you say that. I think it's probably pretty loose. So that's Zapdos. And then for Moltres, the Pokedex entries, it's no one's favorite. I do really
There's
like
only
Moltres.
2 of us, and there's 3. Inevitably, one of them is going to get the short straw.
It's the dog's favorite.
Yeah.
The dogs picked Moltres.
Yeah.
I asked them before the show. The yellow Pokedex entry for Moltres it's a legendary bird Pokemon. As it flaps its flaming wings, even the night sky will turn red.
That is so cool.
It's the coolest imagery.
Yeah.
I always go for, I don't know if you ever noticed this, but when I pick my Pokedex entries, I don't pick no basic Pokedex entries. I pick the ones that evoke. I pick the entries that evoke like strong like visual or like senses like things or ones that are just like kind of poetic.
Yeah.
What I like. And then in the Silver Pokedex, the legendary bird Pokemon is said to bring early spring to the wintry lands it visits.
Moltres. Okay. Yeah.
Because it's so hot that when it heads over to some cold place, I wish he'd head here. When it heads over to some cold places, it just warms it up just by being in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So you can catch Moltres on your way to the Indigo Plateau when you're headed to face the Elite Four on Victory Road.
Yeah.
And then according to a trainer that you meet in the Cinnabar gym, like a trainer, like a that fights at the gym before you fight Blaine, he tells you that that's literally the reason Blaine became a fire type trainer is because of Moltres.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
It inspired him.
It's also interesting in terms of something that I'm going to get to talk about, but nonetheless, really cool that like getting to witness or just know about Moltres was the inspiration to be like, fire type is where it's at. Yeah.
Unsurprisingly, at least to me, Moltres is probably inspired by the Phoenix.
Yeah.
Which is
no shocker there.
Which is part of Greek mythology, but obviously the Phoenix is referenced in many cultures. You had said Harry Potter mythology. Like, yeah. The Phoenix is a mythological bird of fire that combusts into flames when it dies and then is then reborn from the ashes. It's possible that it's also takes inspiration from the Slavic firebird or the Egyptian Bennu as well.
Okay.
I really was touched by, like, I don't know why I pulled this together last night, but thinking about that spring entry and thinking about like how the Phoenix is like a symbol of like renewal and rebirth and bringing things back to life.
Yeah.
Much like spring is from the winter. It made me think of the quote from Fruits Baskets. I think I told you about this. One of the characters is asked, when snow melts, what does it bring? And they say it brings spring. Yeah. So just kind of gave me like a hopeful like vibe as well.
Yeah.
And then really cool thing about Moltres is that if it wants to heal itself, it will quite literally take a dip into volcanic magma.
Interesting.
Yep.
I guess that makes a lot of sense. There's some fire type Pokemon that when you look at them, you think like you couldn't survive in magma.
Well, there are only 6 Pokemon that are classified by the Pokedex as flame Pokemon.
Oh.
And those are the ones that would probably survive dipping into magma. And the rest, good luck. Like, I don't know. Like, y'all be having fire, but y'all not be fire.
Yeah.
So, fun facts.
Okay.
Couple fun facts.
Sure.
That some of which are not so fun to me.
Okay.
And then we'll go to break. And then we'll come back and we'll learn about mythical babies.
Well, one legendary
mythical baby
and one mythical.
legendary. Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought this was the coolest thing. I cannot believe I did not know about this because it just happened in recent history.
Okay.
There were new beetles discovered in Australia.
That is awesome.
In 2020. And they are literally all named after the legendary birds. I am going to butcher the Latin, but it's like Bimbarum articuno, Bimbarum zapdos, and Bimbarum moltres.
That is really freaking cool.
Very cool.
And it's really funny when you think, or interesting, how time is a circle. Junichi Matsuda was inspired by bugs.
Catching bugs.
Now Pokemon is inspiring
amphibians.
bugs.
Yeah.
Yes, by catching creatures.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat. I do need to research though, because if those beetles can't fly, I'm unsure why that was the choice. Why wasn't it like Caterpie or something?
What if they're like this beetle is weirdly susceptible to, or like really resistant to being in freezing weather, and this one can get struck by lightning and keep going.
Yeah, I kind of want to know, like, other than the fact that there are 3 types of the species, like what made the person think I'm going to name them after this? I don't know. It's cool. Shout out to the Pokemon nerds and the science industry. Very cool.
Yeah.
Another fun fact for you this is the one that's not fun. I literally put insert upside down smiley face here. Pokemon Company, or at least the Galar people, the legend of Galar, tried to say that it is just a coincidence that the Galarian forms resemble the Cantonian.
I do
forms.
know that from playing the game.
Jam.
That whole arc of like finding and capturing the apparently legendary wings, which they must have called them that, and I just blew past it because I was like, they're the legendary birds, obviously. Yeah. That whole arc they spend talking about like, oh yeah, we call them Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno, but they have nothing to do with the other ones. And it's like, no, yes they do.
Yeah, just stop.
Yes they do.
You guys made forms of it like you do every other Pokemon. These are the same Pokemon with different looks.
Yeah.
That was an annoying fun fact for you that I wanted to share my annoyance with the world. And then we talked earlier that Lugia is similar to Ho-Oh in the sense that they both lead different legendary trios, but the biggest difference I do want to call out is that Lugia did not create the birds.
Yes, yeah.
Because they are all elemental and they all fly, and they're all powerful. They work together in tandem to make things balance in nature. And then Moltres is the only, I thought you would like this one. Moltres is the only legendary bird to appear in every single Smash Brothers game.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is the only one that does. And the reason is because it makes a very minor cameo in the original Super Smash Bros. When you're playing the Saffron City stage, you'll occasionally see it flying in the background.
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah.
And
so that's the
I think
only one that's appeared in all of them.
I think in the other games it becomes a Pokeball.
It's a Pokeball one.
Yeah, item. Yeah.
But it's the only one to appear because of that
cool.
cameo.
Yeah, that's so neat.
And then last but not least fun fact is that Zapdos was the only flying and electric type Pokemon until Gen 5 when Emolga was introduced, the little chinchilla looking flying squirrel thing.
Generation 5's Pikachu.
Yeah, which I thought was cool because Moltres was out immediately because Charizard is also flying and fire, even though he should be a dragon. Let's not talk about it. Yeah. And then Articuno, I think he was out in Gen 2, I remember reading, but I can't remember which Pokemon. But Zapdos was the only flying electric type, dual type Pokemon for 4 generations.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Very cool.
That's very neat. Is a great it's as far as weaknesses go, it only has the 2, so you're pretty well covered, which is neat.
Well, we will be back in Moltres minutes.
All right, yeah, we'll go on break, and we'll be back after the break.
But yeah, thanks for listening to my birds.
Yeah. All right. And we're back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. How was your break?
I didn't move.
Was it Trace? Was it Moltres?
It was Zapdos seconds actually.
Yeah. So now, thank you so much for talking about the legendary birds.
Yeah, and now Mewtwo can talk.
Yes, now Mewtwo can talk. No, very good. Very good pun. I'm going to be covering the legendary and mythical Pokemon from Generation 1 that aren't the birds, which are Mewtwo and Mew.
Ugh, baby Mew.
Baby Mew. So
Love
sweet,
her.
so precious. We talked about it before. Everybody has their headcanon for what gender a Pokemon is in the game. You know, you get attached to a Pokemon, and like for me, like my Pikachu that I've had that becomes a Raichu has always been a boy, and so Raichu is a boy to me, and then like Espeon is always a girl to you.
Yeah.
And there's just, that happens. But I think it's interesting, something to note is that, just before we get into Mewtwo and Mew, is legendary Pokemon, with a few exceptions, legendary and mythical Pokemon, they are genderless in the game. They do not have a gender. They're not.
And you can't
breed them.
Even with a Ditto.
The only exception breeding within the game wise is Manaphy. You can get Fion, which is technically a legendary, I think, but I've always been a little confused on if it's like considered a pseudo legendary or not. But Manaphy can breed, and it breeds Fion, so you can't even get another Manaphy. You just get a different Pokemon.
Okay.
But yeah, just kind of interesting. So we'll start with Mewtwo, but really it's kind of difficult to talk about Mewtwo or Mew without talking about the other one.
Oh yeah.
So you'll have to pay attention, follow along. I'm going to be kind of jumping around as I talk, just because it's easier, I think, for me to just kind of talk about them both.
Well, they're
very much two sides of the same coin.
I was going to say, it was a little hard to talk about the birds separately all the time because there's just so many similarities. So there's definitely two sides to the same coin.
Yeah. So Mewtwo is an artificial Pokemon. He is not the only artificial Pokemon. There's Pokemon like Porygon and Genesect that are artificial. I believe Voltorb and Electrode are technically considered artificial Pokemon.
Is Porygon 2 also artificial?
Yeah, the whole Porygon line is
Okay.
all artificial. It's all about data and corruption and computers and things like that.
Rotom and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes. But so Mewtwo is an artificial Pokemon. It's a humanoid type of Pokemon. So like it stands on 2 legs. Its color scheming is gray and purple. It has a very long, thick purple tail that kind of thins out before ending in like a big bulb. It's got like little horns, and it's probably one of the few Pokemon that like you could do just a little bit of customizing to its design and it would look almost human.
It's very alien looking,
yeah,
like extraterrestrial looking, and very severe looking. Like
yes.
like his cheeks are very like kind of sunken, and like he's got like angularness going on, except for his luscious tail, his robust tail.
Yes. Yeah. And like I said, on the top of its head, there's 2 short horns. It has purple eyes and a tube that extends from the back of its head to its neck. It's on the backside of it, so you might not have ever thought about it or seen it, but it does have like a tube of its body.
Don't like that.
It has 3 digits on each hand and foot that are all spherical in shape. We made reference to that in where he waves his fingies in the episode about Pokemon the first movie. And Mewtwo's shiny version turns all of the purple coloring on its body into a green color, and then it also lightens up the gray on its body. It becomes a little more light gray versus dark gray. Mewtwo is 6'7" and it weighs 269 pounds. Mew, on the other hand, is only 1 foot 4 inches and only weighs 8.8 pounds. So it is literally a little baby, and its design is kind of inspired by babies, I would say. Mew is a pink humanoid Pokemon with mammalian features. It has rounded eyes and a wide snout, triangular ears. Its eyes are blue. It has short little stubby arms with 3 fingies on the end of it, and it has big ol' paws for feet, and then a long skinny tail that again has like an oval tip at the end.
You know what I just realized then?
Yeah.
You know the plush that we have of Mew, like the big one?
Yeah.
That means that is bigger than Mew actually is.
Yes, it is. It is bigger than actual Mew.
Because Mew, that would make Mew only like this.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Maybe not with the tail. Maybe it's only considering its body when it's that. I don't actually know.
Even so.
Yeah. And Mew's fur is actually so fine and thin that it's said to only be visible under a microscope.
Baby.
Yeah. Mew's shiny version of it turns it solid blue, and it's very pretty. It's like a baby blue.
Yep.
So the first time that a lot of trainers, Pokemon trainers out there, probably interacted with or heard about Mew and Mewtwo was potentially, depending on when you grew up, from the journal entries that can be found on
Cinnabar?
Yes, thank you. Are the journal entries that can be found in the Pokemon Mansion on Cinnabar Island. Fun little fact about those journal entries were actually slightly changed in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, just kind of in order to remove the real world locations that are referenced in those journal entries, and also to better align with the fact that Pokemon, no one in the Pokemon games, they're very cheeky about it. Nobody knows how Pokemon are hatched or bred or anything like that. They're just eggs appear and they hatch. So I'm going to read the entries from the original generation, which includes red, blue, green, yellow, and also fire red and leaf green. But just know that there are some changes if you've only played Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee, there might read a little bit differently.
They didn't change them in fire red and leaf green, though?
No, they did not. Yeah.
It's good to know.
So Diary 1, July 5th, Guyana, South America. A new Pokemon was discovered deep in the jungle. Second diary, July 10th. We christened this newly discovered Pokemon Mew. Third diary, February 6th. Mew gave birth. We named the newborn Mewtwo. And then fourth diary, September 1st. Mewtwo is far too powerful. We have failed to curb its vicious tendencies. Something to note about the fourth diary entry is that in Japanese, it actually reads as a lot more. The person who wrote the entry wrote it in a way that's a lot more emotional, referencing like that they've failed, not just kind of that they're aware of what their failure will mean because Mewtwo is so powerful. And also interesting, in the Japanese version of Pokemon Emerald, as I mentioned, Mew in the diary entry number 1 was found in Guyana, South America. In the Japanese version of Pokemon Emerald, on the island known simply as Faraway Island, there's actually a signpost message left by someone with the name ending in G, and it is speculated that that is Mr. Fuji, also known as Dr. Fuji, when he lived on Cinnabar Island. So that potentially means that Mew actually is from this faraway island and not from a real world reference of South America.
I was kind of, when you said there was real world references, I was like, even though they're in a fake world game.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I was like really trying. I was like, what is the reference?
Yeah.
Tokyo. They're in Tokyo.
Yeah, those journal entries are probably the first time that you ever ran into the idea or just the concept of Mew or Mewtwo, of if you found Pokemon through the games. Mewtwo, the genetic Pokemon, was cloned from Mew's DNA, which I always thought was interesting because they specifically say Mew gave birth, but then Mewtwo was cloned. So I guess maybe that's just kind of like a take on giving birth, is that it's
It might
created.
it might just be too like a more of a mistranslation, or like more of like a direct translation instead of like cloning.
Yeah, but it's just something interesting to note, because this was always the plan, was that Mewtwo was a clone. And also interestingly, while Mew contains the DNA of every Pokemon in existence, Mewtwo actually does not. And it's further expounded upon in the Pokemon anime, or I'm sorry, in the Pokemon manga, Pokemon Adventures, when Team Rocket has not actually gathered up enough Mew cells to complete Mewtwo's creation. So instead, they resort to using human cells combined with...
And that could explain why he is so
the way that he's
much
so
more
big.
humanoid looking.
That's true.
Yeah.
The interesting part is that the human cells that they used were actually from Blaine, Team Rocket's scientist.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, and that gave Blaine the ability in the manga to be psychically linked to Mewtwo, and that he could sacrifice some of his life energy to find Mewtwo's location.
So, and if you're going to talk about this, like, cut me off because I don't want to spoil anything. But like, how did he end up in that cave?
Well, so I
by Cerulean, right?
Yeah, I will get to that.
Okay.
But there's an interesting little bit about that in Pokedex entries. So Mewtwo, like I said, created in the Kanto Pokemon Mansion on Cinnabar Island. Mewtwo's able to Mega Evolve into 2 different forms. The only other Pokemon able to do that is Charizard. Mewtwo's able to evolve into Mewtwo X and Mega Mewtwo Y.
One of them is dumb looking.
One of them is very weird looking. It's believed that these forms were also artificially created because when AZ launched his ultimate weapon 3,000 years ago in the Pokemon series, Mewtwo didn't exist yet. So that was I learned that was interesting. I never thought about that before, but yeah, that it's believed that we're also out here making... Somebody in Pokemon world got a hold of Mewtwo's information, was like, you know what? He needs Mega Evolutions, and just created. So strange, especially considering the fact that Mewtwo is referred to as the most powerful Pokemon due to its overwhelming strength, both mechanically in the game and also just story-wise. Mewtwo typically likes to reside in dark caves, remaining motionless to conserve its energy so that it is always ready to fight.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's hunkering down there so that it can be
when
at its
when
top
it needs
strength.
to fight, it is ready to go.
Are Mewtwo and Mew both just psychic type
Yes.
Pokemon? Okay.
Yes, they are. They're both just psychic type.
And does the Mega Evolution change the typing?
Mega Mewtwo X becomes psychic fighting.
Okay.
And Mega Mewtwo Y becomes a stronger version of psychic.
Okay, yeah, he looks like it. He looks like Megamind.
Yeah,
Megamind
he
Mewtwo.
He does look like Megamind Mewtwo.
His tail in the wrong place.
Yeah. Mewtwo's been seen in the anime and in many instances of the game, showing off a plethora of games, movies, comics, whatever, any Pokemon stuff, showing off a bunch of unique powers and abilities. It's capable of levitation, mind control, memory erasure, telepathy, teleportation of itself and others, creating powerful storms with a wave of its fingies.
It's fingies.
Transfer of human souls into Pokemon's bodies, and surviving without oxygen, which was in the Pokemon Deoxys movie. Apparently he fights Deoxys in space.
Yeah, in space. Yeah.
Yes. A perfect example of why he's so powerful. And he really is truly an incredibly powerful Pokemon. Mewtwo has the signature move Psystrike, which is a special psychic move that deals 100 damage and 100% accuracy. And it's calculated. So it's in Pokemon. I'm going to deep dive a little bit. In Pokemon, if you use a special attack, it is typically calculated against the defending Pokemon's special defense. And if you use a physical attack, it is calculated against their physical defense, their standard defense. Psystrike, however, is a special psychic move that is calculated against the target's defense rather than its special defense. That move was introduced in Generation 5. So up until Generation 5, he didn't have anything move-wise that made him super special. He had no signature move. Mewtwo has a base stat total of 680, putting it in third place for the highest base stats of all Pokemon. Third only to Eternatus at 690, so it's only 10 points behind. And then, of course, Arceus, the god of Pokemon, which is at 720 base stats.
I thought Shuckle had the best base stats.
No, Shuckle doesn't have the best base stats.
Okay.
Shuckle has maybe we'll do a deep dive on that, just like weird things in Pokemon, but Shuckle has a very unique set of circumstances that will allow it to use the most powerful move or deal the most amount of damage.
I just knew I remember there being something special about Shuckle.
Yeah, but it's like the type of thing that is only on paper.
Yeah. Okay.
Despite the fact that Mewtwo is such an incredible Pokemon, it has kind of lame abilities. Abilities are secondary things in Pokemon. I don't think we've talked about them a whole lot, but they're secondary attributes of Pokemon that give it exactly what it sounds like, a special ability. Mewtwo has the ability Pressure, which lowers down a Pokemon's PP by 2 rather than 1 when it's hit by a move. And its hidden ability is Unnerve, which makes the opposing Pokemon no longer able to eat their held berry, which is pretty lame, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Mewtwo does make some other appearances. It also appears in Super Smash Brothers. It has a little bit more presence in Super Smash Brothers than Moltres, Articuno, or Zapdos.
Well, it's a playable character in the last one, right?
Mewtwo has been a playable character since Melee, and it was only not a playable character in Super Smash Brothers Brawl. After Brawl in the 3DS and Wii U days, he was reintroduced as I believe the first DLC character on the 3DS and Wii U.
Okay.
And then Mewtwo also has a couple different variants of itself. There is the Shadow Mewtwo, which was revealed in the spin-off 3D fighting game Pokken Tournament. It's made by the company that makes Tekken. It is very similar to standard Mewtwo, but it has dark gray skin, and I mean like dark gray skin. A dark gray tail, and its tail has a yellowish orange tip, and there's a shard of Shadow Synergy Stone coming out of its shoulder. Shadow Mewtwo is capable of Mega evolving into Shadow Mega Mewtwo X, which looks just as ridiculous as Mega Mewtwo X. And Shadow Mewtwo is the main antagonist of the Pokken games. So in the Pokken games, the story is that Shadow Mewtwo a regular Mewtwo gets infected with this shadow energy crystal protecting somebody, and then goes around and causes havoc, and you as the player character have to stop it.
Okay.
There's also the armored Mewtwo variant, which we do see in Pokemon the first movie, but I'm specifically talking about within Pokemon Go, but it's super cool looking as well.
Yeah, I know we said this when we did our review of Mewtwo of the first Pokemon movie, but I was like, he needs to keep the Power Ranger armor.
He does. He looks
it's
so
very
cool.
cool.
Yeah. And it's also the armored Mewtwo, I believe, is the only Pokemon that is specific to Pokemon Go. It is in no other game.
You apparently can get, but we love good Pokemon swag. You apparently can get like a figurine of armored Mewtwo, which is really
that's
sick.
Super cool. Yeah. I love that. And then I kind of, to round off talking about Mewtwo before we get more into Mew, I do have some trivia about Mewtwo. Mewtwo comes before Mew in the Pokedex, despite being a clone of Mewtwo. So they would have had to have known about Mew before making Mewtwo.
I have a theory about that.
Oh, okay.
Maybe because the villains were the ones that made Mewtwo. Mewtwo then became more of a presence first. So maybe the actual people like Oak that made the Pokedex, maybe they didn't know about Mew before Mewtwo.
Not only that, but you actually just kind of brought something up to give credence to that, or that made me realize there's credence, is that a lot of people, and I'll talk about this when I talk about Mew, but a lot of people thought Mew was extinct. And so there was just no reason. That could be true too, either extinct or just like the wording that the Pokemon games and anime uses a mirage, but like a ghost, a story.
Because you could make the argument that like Arceus should be Pokemon 1. Right?
Yeah, well, there's actually, so that's funny that you bring that up, because there's actually a little bit of a funny joke about that, whereas like, is Bulbasaur Pokemon 1 because it's the first Pokemon in the Pokedex? Is Arceus Pokemon 1 because it's the god of Pokemon? Mm-hmm. Or is Rhydon Pokemon 1 because that is the first Pokemon
to ever exist
that the game they ever designed? So kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Mewtwo is also speaking of first, Mewtwo is the very first Pokemon that you will ever see if your introduction to Pokemon is in the anime, because it is the first Pokemon that comes up on the title, on the English dub. Yep.
Like they fly across it.
Yeah, of the beginning of the English dub. Mewtwo also has the most animated series opening appearances of any legendary Pokemon, and spoiler alert, Mew shares that.
Okay.
They share the exact same number of appearances in anime openings. Mewtwo can be seen on the door of Bill's lighthouse in the episode Mystery of the Lighthouse, despite having only been seen by its creators and Team Rocket at that point in the anime.
Huh.
And then I want to give a little shout out to listener Leorbeck, who pointed out on our Pokemon the First Movie episode that Mewtwo has a sprite form of itself in the anime in Viridian City Gym.
That's cool.
Which is really neat.
Yeah. Little listener feedback slipping in the podcast.
Pretty cool. And then finally, this is one of my favorite things. And when we were doing this episode, we talked about how like the Pokemon manga just must go so hard.
It's
because
just wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I love this. From the Pokemon Adventures manga, Mewtwo is often depicted as wielding a giant spoon.
So that's probably from the psychic ness, right?
Yes,
because
similar to
Kadabra and Alakazam.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this thing is like giant.
A big spoon.
It's a big spoon.
A big spoon.
It's a big spoon. And I love that. I love the design, and I kind of wish he had it in
He
game.
knows that there is going to be mashed potatoes at some point. That's what it is.
Oh, goodness. Sure. Mashed potatoes from Mewtwo. That's kind of all I've got for Mewtwo.
Okay.
Probably the most favorite legendary. In fact, I think it was voted. I think in some of my research, I noticed that it was voted as the most favorite legendary in one of their polls that they do.
I'd have to think maybe we'll do a top legendaries and mythicals one day where we talk about our favorites, because I'd have to think about what my favorite legendaries
and mythicals would be. Speaking of mythicals, so we just talked about more about Mewtwo, the genetic Pokemon. Now we're going to be talking about Mew, the new species Pokemon. It's number 151. Mew is typically shown with a playful side and almost childlike personality. However, it portrays a high level of intelligence It is, like I said to contain the DNA of every single Pokemon within its body. It is. And I think that comes from so there's two reasons why that's believed to be the case in Pokemon the series. One is because Mew is actually capable of using it's capable of learning almost every single move available in the game. I think signature moves, obviously, like Psystrike from Mewtwo, that only belong to a particular Pokemon. And I think there's a couple other ones. So despite the fact that Mew is only Psychic type, it can learn pretty much every single move in the game.
Okay.
And also, it is theorized that Mew is the ancestor of all Pokemon because in the Sinnoh games, it is said that Arceus created the stuff that Arceus created, Palkia, Dialga, and all that, and then created Mews to essentially populate the earth. And then those Mews spread out and changed to become the different Pokemon. It's capable of levitation and teleportation, as well as being able to use, like I said, almost every move, regardless of its typing. It can make itself invisible at will and summon orbs of energy around itself and others.
I love the little orbs.
The little bubbles that it likes to play on and bounce on and stuff. It is also the only Pokemon besides Ditto that is capable of transforming into every other Pokemon, which alongside some other similarities have given rise to the fan theory that Ditto are actually failed versions of the Mew cloning experiments.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's really cool.
Yeah, so the reason that theory exists is because both Mew and Ditto Mew has 600 base stats, and they are spread across its 6 stat rankings: HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed as 100. And Ditto has 50 on each of those. So it has half of Mew. It has 300 for all of its base stats. Ditto and Mew are the same color. Shiny Ditto and Shiny Mew are the same color. Ditto is often in games that Mewtwo is sitting around in a cave. You can usually find Ditto in those caves. So it's almost like they got brought along with Mewtwo. And the whole thing about being able to transform into every Pokemon. There have been a couple things that have come out that have kind of disproven that theory, but it's still probably one of my more favorite theories to learn.
And it's pretty solid too.
It is.
If you think about it. I also think it's cool that Mew, I did not know Mew could transform into other Pokemon, but that explains why everyone thought it was extinct, because it could
just be other Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it can go invisible.
Yeah.
So it's said to only reveal itself to trainers with pure hearts, which is a pretty common thing in Pokemon for any type of mythical thing. Yeah. This was something that I thought was incredibly interesting. So in Japan, there was a radio drama called The Birth of Mewtwo that coincided with the Pokemon anime, in which Mew was discovered by Jessie of Team Rocket, Jessie's mom, whose name was Miyamoto. Jessie apparently registered the cry in a forest 20 years before the events of any of the Pokemon animated series took place.
It's so cool.
That is cool.
And really random.
Yeah. It's like, I love how they, in some cases, they kind of change the canon lore of Pokemon, but in other ways, they provide like extra insight onto just different characters that really had the only thing we know of Jessie is that one episode where Jessie and James talk about their backstory, and like other than that, you don't really hear a lot about their family and stuff, but like that gives Jessie's family more character. That's super cool that it just in this random radio drama, that was a fact that was thrown out there, and it just kind of exists.
Very cool.
Yeah. So like I said, Mew has a base stat total of 600 spread out as 100 across all 6 stats. Later on, that similar to the legendary trios, that whole mythical Pokemon having base stats 600, 100 across the board is a trend that Mew starts with others. And it actually goes to every mythical Pokemon, excluding Keldeo, Hoopa Unbound, and Meltan. Fun fact about base stat 600, that's also a requirement for a Pokemon to be considered pseudo-legendary.
Okay.
Mew only has the ability Synchronize, which makes it that whenever the Pokemon becomes poisoned, paralyzed, or burned, the opponent's Pokemon is also poisoned, paralyzed, or burned. And even though Mew is capable of learning every single move that Pokemon can learn via TM, it actually only learns 12 moves through level up. So it's got a really small move pool.
Yep. That makes sense.
Mew appears in the Super Smash Bros. Games as both a trophy and a rare Pokemon that can show up when the Pokeball item is shown. In the original Smash Bros. Game, Mew had a 1 in 151 chance to show up from the
cute.
Pokeball. Yeah.
I do want to acknowledge, I guess, how really well written some of those trophy descriptions are. Like I ended up not pulling it because I was like, I'll just do Pokedex entries. That's what we normally do anyway. But like I read some of the trophy entries for like Articuno and stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually really good.
Yeah.
They like really take their time and like
they do
think through it.
Yeah. Huge shout out to the translators at Nintendo and just the writers at Nintendo, because it's got to come from somewhere. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's cool how deep they get with that sort of stuff. So finally, talking about Mew, I've got some trivia, including one of the most interesting pieces of trivia in all of Pokemon that I think exists. So Mew was first officially revealed in the May 1996 issue of CoroCoro magazine in Japan, just 2 months after the release of Pokemon Red and Green in Japan. Mew was designed by Shigeki Morimoto right at the very end of development of Pokemon Red and Pokemon Green. So much so that it was after bug testing and Nintendo, who had to step in and help Game Freak fix the game so that they could release on time. Nintendo was like, do not touch the code to this game. And then Shigeki Morimoto was like, yeah, but there's a little bit of space left. So what if I just slid in this Pokemon? Could have totally broken the whole game. Mew is also, so speaking on the fact that legendary and mythical Pokemon are considered genderless in Pokemon, Mew is the only gender unknown Pokemon that can learn the move Captivate, which will not work when used by a gender unknown Pokemon. So it is completely useless.
Yeah, because it can learn everything.
Yes.
But it that doesn't. So it can learn like Attract and stuff too, yes, then, right? And yes, those won't work.
Those will not work. And those are all learnable by some other Pokemon that are genderless, but like Captivate was the specific one. But yeah, it can learn moves that literally just don't work. And then this is something that's super interesting, and there's a lot of research that has gone into this, and I actually want to continue to deep dive into it more. It was so much to look into. But so this is in the fan community kind of referred to as the story of the legendary offer. In April of 1996, the first ever Pokemon distribution event was hosted by the Japanese magazine CoroCoro. The event was made as a prize draw where chosen players sent in their copies of Pokemon Red or Green to Game Freak after they correctly answered a question from the magazine prompt. There were 20 players that would be chosen to receive this first Pokemon distribution, and they would be selected to receive a copy of the mythical Pokemon Mew. By the end of CoroCoro's contest, there were more than 78,000 entries that had applied to win, and in the end, they still only gave out the 20 copies of the legendary offer Mew. This Mew was coded directly into their games by the creator of Mew, Shigeki Morimoto, on his own personal PC, and then traded with the winning cartridges using just a regular link cable. The reason this is so interesting is because once Pokemon Gold and Silver came out, you could trade from Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow to Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. But then when Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald came out, you could not get anything from Gen 2 onto that. It was a start fresh. And that was when Iwata, the late president of Nintendo, came out and said, like, we promise that you will be able to move all of your Pokemon with you from now on. They will be able to come, and they might not be able to go into a specific game that you want them in, but they will be able to come with you in some way. There's a promise that we're making, which means that those Pokemon, those 20 Mew, only ever could exist on either a copy of Red, Blue, and Yellow or Gold, Silver, and Crystal. What makes this even more rare is that those games have batteries in them, that when the battery dies, everything is lost. Yeah. So the only way that one of those 20 Mews could exist still, and someone could have evidence of it, is if the person knowingly would transfer it from one game to another, reset the battery pack, and then transfer it back. So it's definitely not on the original game, that like save file that it started on, because it just can't be. But and that's why I was saying I still need to deep dive into this and still need to like figure out all the research that has gone into this by the fans to hunt down a actual copy of these Mews. Because the other significant thing is that, so every Pokemon has a Pokemon trainer ID that is basically a serial number, and these Pokemon were number 000 whatever 1 through 20. So there's like this hunt in the Pokemon community to find any of them, doesn't matter which one, just someone who has still one of these original Mews. And that means, like I said, they would have had to have spent time transferring it back and forth while replacing batteries, or a little less exciting or just cool, but they could have also had a way to transfer it to the PC, like an actual PC, back as code, and then put it onto something that has a much longer lasting battery or just no battery problem. But it's just cool that there are 20 Pokemon out there potentially that probably don't exist anymore, but if we find one, that's like a digital piece of history.
So it's doing two things for me, like just in general.
Yeah.
It's making me appreciative of how far we have come as far as getting free Pokemon from Pokemon Company, because it went from sending in your physical copy of your game to the company to going to a GameStop and getting like your download from GameStop on a certain day on their Wi-Fi or however that worked. I don't even remember because it's been that long. To getting one instantly.
Codes. Well,
physical codes.
Yeah, you would go get a code that you could then enter
from GameStop normally, from a game store. And now it's like you literally just, if they say we're going to give you a Pokemon today, you just turn on your game
and say mystery gift
and put your code in. Yeah.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah.
The other side of that is like how impersonable it's become. So like those 20 people got a Mew from the creator of Mew.
Yeah.
And that's just not a thing anymore. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
Unless Game Freak like sends me a Mew plush, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to do this on purpose. I used to do this glitch with the save boxes in Silver where I would turn off my game while it was saving after transferring a Pokemon from one box to the other to get one in each box.
Yep.
But one time, the last time I ever did it, I lost my Togepi.
Oh no, and you want to get the one.
I don't know if I turned it off too late or what, but I turned it off at the wrong time, and I had gotten really good at it. I had tons of I didn't bother breeding.
Yeah.
I could just duplicate my Pokemon, but I had tons of of Pokemon, including like big Pokemon or like the starters and stuff like that. But I said I had a Togepi on the Pokedex. never could get a Togetic.
No.
And it was gone forever.
Oh no.
Isn't that sad?
That is so sad.
So I don't be messing with glitches.
Yeah.
No messing with it.
It's not really a glitch, but I do, whenever I play through Pokemon Red and Blue, or I don't think it's in Yellow. I think it's just Red and Blue. The Poke Center that is in the shopping city doesn't actually have a PC in it, but you can access the PC.
Oh, okay.
Because all they did was they took the same like rig for a Pokemon Center and just put a different texture over it.
Okay.
And so that's the only Poke Center. Once I get to that point, that's the only PC I use, because it's so funny to see myself just standing in the middle of the Pokemon Center and like looking at the PC. But yeah, that's the episode, the first legendary episode, first of many.
It's quite a legend.
It is.
Yeah. In the making. Yeah.
It is indeed.
Yeah. No, I think it's cool. I really had that whole story about the 20 Mews. I've never heard of that before. So you have to let me know what you find out.
I will. I knew about the contest, but then just reading about the fact that like, oh, well, here's how you would do it if you did, and knowing how crazy nerds and geeks are, I think it could be possible, and I'd love to know if that actually got found.
Still exists. Yeah.
If
there's at least
even
one,
just one.
Yeah, of the 20. That's really cool.
Because that's just so cool. Because you're right. That's not no one but those 20 people can say that they have a Pokemon personally coded by a developer of Pokemon in their game.
Yep.
For their game and only their game.
Yep.
So cool.
Very cool.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed the episode.
Yeah.
If you love the bird trio over the legendary and mythical duo, Bex, where can they reach out to you?
If you want to tell me how awesome Moltres is, you can reach out to me anywhere on the internet at Rebelody. That's REBELODY, except for Instagram, where I am I_am_Rebelody. And Galutrad, if they want to tell you how dumb the mega evolutions of Mewtwo look, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me everywhere on the internet at Galutrad. That's GALUTRAD. Hopefully, I'll be back to streaming Pokemon Sun soon. I want to get the technical issues figured out, but you can look forward to that. Follow me on socials, and we will also repost whatever. Anytime that I'm streaming a Pokemon specific game, we'll talk about it on the Another Pokemon Podcast socials, which you can find on your favorite social network of choice at Another PKMN Pod. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere that you choose to listen to the show. Apple Podcast especially really helps with that algorithm to get our show out there, and we can get more contributors and fans and friends onto the Pokemon journey.
Did you know that in my Spotify Wrapped this year, I listened to 3 podcasts, and one of the podcasts was ours?
I was
a top listener of our podcast.
I am also. I'm probably. Here's a challenge to y'all listeners. I wonder if any of you listen to the show more than me, because I do the editing, and so I end up listening to it each episode about 4 or 5 times after editing and double checking.
It might be eventually, like maybe on a season break, there'll be like I do, where I go back and listen to an old season of something.
If any of y'all think that you can out listen me to my own show,
I haven't even listened to every episode of our podcast.
But yeah, other than that, we will see y'all in the new year. Next episode will come out January 3rd.
See you legends later.
All right. Bye.
Goodbye.
Get out.
Get out. The most holdenest, breathinest Pokemons ever.